Hi all, welcome to Cyber Warfare Lab's AWS Cloud Red Team course. In this module, we will discuss about Single Sign-On or AWS SSO. So basically, AWS Single Sign-On makes it easy to centrally manage access to multiple AWS accounts and business applications. So basically, what does it mean? So if you have a multiple AWS accounts, you have organizations where we have a multiple AWS account, just like account for development team, account for productions team, account for a testing team, or account for any other purpose. You can centrally manage their identity, so they can log into the single portal and they can access all the account or accounts which is provisioning or which permissions to access this thing. And it will also allow you to access not even the AWS account but any other business applications. Suppose they want to access the Salesforce, they want to access any other applications, they want to access Microsoft Office 365 or any other applications, they can access this thing from a single dashboard or using single portals. SSO, you can easily manage access and user permissions to all your accounts in AWS organization centrally. So basically, we have one account which is a root account, which have a basically organization's account. If in the same organization account, suppose you have a multiple accounts, so you can manage the access, you can manage the resources, you can manage their permissions centrally using AWS SSO. AWS SSO also includes built-in integrations to many business applications such as Salesforce, Box, Office 365, or any other business application. So we will discuss practically how SSO is look like, what are the features provided by SSO, and how we can manage AWS account as well as business account using SSO. Now we are discussing about the identity source. This is really important. What is identity? So basically, suppose you have one organizations and the organizations have a unique ID for each and every users or employee which is working there in this organization. So they have a unique ID as well as unique credentials. This belongs to the particular user. So they can use the single source of identity. That means they can use the single credentials to access all the applications or multiple AWS accounts using SSO. Now, when we're talking about identity, where does this identity come from? So when we're talking about AWS SSO, identities come from AWS itself provide a AWS SSO identity store. So you can create the user there, you can create the password there, and you can share this thing. So user can access this thing. Second one is you can use the external identity source. When you're talking about external, you can use a Microsoft Active Directory, your on-prem Active Directory, the ID which you use in your on-prem Active Directory, you can use the same ID or same credential to access the AWS a single sign-on or any business applications. You can use AWS managed Active Directory. Same like your on-prem Active Directory, AWS also have a AWS managed Active Directory, or we can say directory services. It's similar like your on-prem directory, but AWS as a directory is there in cloud. Third one is you can use the Okta Universal Directory, Azure Active Directory, or any other SAML-based authentication or identity source. So this is the picture where we discuss about what it's look like. So suppose in this module, you can see here, this is the AWS SSO. How we can access the AWS SSO using a user? So this is the URL. You can access this SSO. So each and every organization have one unique URL. So you can access the SSO using this URL. So once you access this URL or this SSO, you can see all the application which belongs to the users. Now, when we're talking about login, where we get the credentials, so these are the identity source where you can get the credential. So you can get the credential your AWS SSO identity store, or you can get the credential your AWS directory or on-prem directory or any SAML-based identity provider. So from here you can get the credential, you can access the SSO. These are the all application. In application there will be any other AWS account which belongs to the same organization, or any other business application like Office 365, or any other custom application which belongs to this organizations. And this is the console, SSO console, where you can manage the users, the permissions, the application, and all these things. So let's discuss practically how it's look like. So you can see here I just logged into AWS Management Console. Let's type SSO, and you can see here this is the SSO portal. This is the URL which is unique for each and every organization. Suppose you have an organization, you have a multiple account, you have multiple users. This is the URL, you can access it. So I just copy this URL, just click here, and this will be your, will take some time, and this will be your SSO login portal for a users. Now how we can authenticate to this SSO portal? Yeah, you can see here this is the SSO portal where you have to enter the username, you have to enter the password. So you can enter the username in format, this format, as a domain format. Suppose you have a domain name abc@abc.com or any other organization, you can specify the credential or username in this format. So this is how you can specify the credential here. But where we get the credentials? So you can see here there is three things you can get the credentials. One is SSO identity store. So this is the SSO identity store. You can create a user here. This is not the same user. This is not the IAM user. So you can create the user in IAM, but it's not related to this one. So this is the SSO directory. You can create the user and you can log in here. So keep in mind that if you have an IAM user, they cannot log in this portal. Only the user which is there in this SSO directory can log in. So you can create a new user, you can specify the username, password, their email address, the name, and other parameter like address, preference, whatever thing they are in organization to identify users. You can specify here, you can create the users. So suppose I already created this support team. This is the display name and red team is the username. So I created the user. This is the source. We can say it's a AWS SSO identity store. Now what next? We can get the credentials or we can get the identity. You can get the identity from AWS directory. So it's similar like Active Directory in on-prem. We have an Active Directory in the cloud that's called AWS Directory Services. So you have a directory services, you can import the credentials or identity from there. Second thing, you can even import the credentials using your on-prem. So there is the organizations which are using on-prem infrastructure and their employees using their Active Directory credentials. So you can use the same credentials to access this SSO portal. So this credential, the identity, we are using it to access this portal. So you can specify here, you can specify if you have a local user or SSO user, AWS SSO user, you can specify here. If you have a AWS directory services or on-prem directory or any other third-party identity provider, you can specify the domain name and their username. So these things come from these place. The identity come from these place. Even you have a SSO identity, you have any other identity, but you cannot log in through your IAM user which is there in IAM. You cannot log in. So this is about how we can import the identity, how we can use the identity to access the SSO portal. Now second thing, we'll discuss about this portal, how we can access this portal. So it will be a unique URL for each and every customer. This is a dashboard. This is the URL you can see here. You can customize it for each and every organization. So suppose there is an organization named ABC, so they have a abc.awsapps.com. This is a single sign-on portal. So user can log in there and can access all the application which is assigned to this user. They can use the same credential for your SSO, AWS SSO identity source, or they can use the credential which is there in their on-prem infrastructures. Now you can choose the identity source, whatever identity source you want. So currently I'm using the AWS SSO, that's why I created this one. You can use your on-prem Active Directory, you can use AWS other directory, and it will import this thing and it will allow you to log in using those identity here. Now this is all about identity source and access portal. Now what else we can see here? So you can see all the application which is assigned to you. It will be visible here, and you can access those applications without entering the credential again and again. So suppose if there is a multiple account for an organization, you can access all the AWS account, just directly click here. So you can access, suppose this is the SSO portal. I'm logging through a red team user, because this is the user which I have. So you can see here I selected as an identity source for AWS SSO, and this is the user I have in. This is the user I have in identity source of AWS SSO. Just enter the credentials, and you can see here I'm logged in to this AWS SSO portal. So you can see here all the application. It will be visible here, whatever is allocated to you. Either it's a business application like Office 365, Salesforce, or if it's any other AWS account. Will we redirect to the same point? Let's log in again. Yes, so there is no application currently to this particular user, but you can set the application, and you can see here in this diagram how we can set the application, how we can set the permissions. So you can set the application and set the permission using AWS SSO console. So this is a console, you can use it to set the permission and application, and this will be accessible from here. So all the applications will be application here. Suppose you can add the application, what application you want for SSO. Suppose these all the application there. You can even choose your any other AWS account. You can choose this one. So this is how you can select all the application, and you can define here which users want what access. So this is how you can allocate, you can assign the permissions, you can set the application using this SSO portals. So this is how SSO is look like. Why it's important? It allows you to use a unique or same credentials to access a multiple application as well as multiple AWS account. But how it's important for a red teaming, because most of the organization have a multiple account. So suppose if there is a one user which is a part of development team as well as production team, just like a manager or approver, so he is a part of development team as well as manager team. So suppose if you compromise your development account, you cannot access their production account. But if you compromise the identity of a manager which have both the account access, you can access or you can use their credential to access the single sign-on, and from single sign-on without needed or without entering the credential, you can access the production environments. So this will help us to understand about how we can utilize or how we can misuse the SSO services or the functionality to perform a red teaming activities. So and you can see here what are the identity source are there, where is collecting the all the identity, where they store the credential, and how it's allow you to authenticate to access the SSO portal. So you can see here, and you can also change, just like for creating a backdoor, you can create the SSO user there, and you can assign a multiple AWS account rights. Suppose there is user which doesn't have much privilege, you can assign the development or production account rights using SSO. So that will help you to creating a persistency in AWS organizations. So this is all about what is SSO, how it's look like, what is the identity source, and how we can manage the permissions, and how we can and what are the things we can access it. So this is all about this video. Thank you so much for watching this video.